Hey everyone again. It's your fun and enigmatic host, Nathan Felighty here with the latest Ag Uncensored podcast. And today I want to highlight fear-mongering in AgTech and all the fun shit that happens in the background that people on the surface probably don't even know exists half the time. As we all know, the ag sector in general is going through a foray of things and changes and shifts and unknowns and a lot of things going on in the back end that I can't speak to everything, and no one really probably can speak to everything. It's kind of what areas you're in, but it's nothing new. Ag has always been that way. I think every industry is that way. The world is that way. The powerful people since the dawn of time have controlled narratives and back end storylines and where this and that goes. Literally, books are written about it. Heck, the largest printed book or widely read book in the world, the Bible, there's stories full of it, of how things are pressured to change and done this way or that way. Ag is no different. Ag tech itself is no different. If you think it's all pie in the sky stuff, oh, it's all this, my God, we can change the world and all these efficiencies and all that. Like, yeah, okay, sure, yes, that is a thing to describe the want that is needed by many. But what a lot of people also don't realize is a lot of the things you see out there that are popular softwares, groups within the ag tech world, or groups that are managing different tech things in ag, there's all these back end things that have happened, and they happen and they shape everything. It's not just, oh, this group had a great idea or they sold a bunch and they did this and that's how they got money. That's how they got sales. That's how they got the deal, whatever. In a lot of cases, it actually doesn't work that way at all. It is, who you know, when you know them, what you can give them, what you give them in return. A lot of the investment side of things work that way too. I can't speak to it all, and I'm not going to go into every detail and every single thing I've heard about, but it's accurate. And the people that are in it and have been in it understand this and know this too. And it sucks. Can't really do much about it. It's kind of the way the world works. It's why humans sometimes are the way they are. We want to help each other, but we really want to help ourselves because we're a bunch of dumb, selfish animals in the end, and are just trying to fight our way so that we don't get trampled over by the next person that wants to take over whatever we did. And there's, some examples that come up once in a while where people can get around that if they work together and work towards some common goals. But you have to give up something. You have to shift your morals into another factor. But as the title on fear mongering is, that doesn't always happen, because there's a fear of not doing it that way, because the other way is hard and it's uncomfortable. And there's plenty of that going on around right now in all of ag, but definitely in the tech side of it. It doesn't matter what it is. All of it has some problems when it comes to the fear of what's going to happen, because investment money's dried up. There might be interest in the product, the tech, but no one wants to put anything in it because there's fear. There's a fear of it not working. There's a fear of losing. There's a fear of looking like an idiot. There's a fear of creating something and then someone else creating it and copying and pasting. There's even fears of legal repercussions. And all these little things, like I've experienced bits and pieces, and other colleagues of mine, bits and pieces of this over the years. And this happened early on in the early days of development of these things. It expanded, I'd say, a lot further once a lot of money started coming in to the ag tech scene. And now, because we're kind of on a downtrend, there's getting weird deals in the back end. Sometimes it's to get the table stakes from some company for really cheap, or almost letting them die so that you can get them for cheap. And there's a lot of that going on. As you can see, there's some big guns that have fell down the hill per se. They maybe always were falling. It's just maybe the cliff, or they finally hit a rock, and it just kind of took them out. But then other groups are grabbing it for little to nothing. And some of those groups are very powerful, very wealthy groups, people, or they're tied to very influential people. And yeah, they kind of, buy low, sell high. That's the mantra. Look at what's happened even recently in the markets. There's no manipulation there at all. It's all free trade capitalism. Everything is followed by the rules. Never has. There's always backdoor deals and stuff. It's nothing new. So it should be no surprise that the AgTech world has been dealing with the same crap. So why I bring this up now is a colleague of mine, and sometimes I say colleague, it's just someone I've talked to on LinkedIn or interacted with, and I kind of, you get a connection because you kind of feel some of the same stuff. There is a little fun fight in the laser weeding community, if you want to call it that, and what's happening brings up kind of the point of what I want to talk to, and I can feel to it as well. So you have Carbon Robotics sitting here, raise a bunch of money, doing all these things. They're this angel child out there. There's people will say, oh, they're the next, Blue River or something. One of the big OEMs is going to grab them up for, some stupid fucking amount of money, and whatever's going to happen. And, storyline kind of just, is cyclical and circular, happens again. They're in a lawsuit with a group, with Chris Lodondo and his laser weeding kind of thing, and he's taken quite a bit different approach. And actually, he's so fed up with it, apparently, that he's just gonna give it away, because he's just tired of the lawsuit, and if money's dried up and things like that. He's like, screw it, I'm gonna put this on a timer. I'm just gonna let it go for all the world to see, and to create their own stuff that will tear Carbon Robotics apart, and will, make their tech not work because our tech's better, or someone else can make it better, a lot easier for less money. And so your value is going to be less because you tried to sue me to take control. I find it's inspiring in a sense, because it's like, screw it, I can't win because whatever reasons, getting screwed over by XYZ, groups not wanting to invest or believe in it, even though it's legitimate. But everyone wants to believe in this thing, put a bunch of money there. This storyline's happened in the AgTech space quite a few times, actually. Some of it is done in the back end, no one really knows, because no one wants to express that they're in a legal battle with another and actually talk to it. Another good famous example, I suppose, is Farmer's Edge and Farm Mobile battling it out over their data puck stuff. And that's been out there a lot. And I mean, you can go research all that stuff you want. I'm not going to get into semantics, but it's kind of like, when big money comes in, or big things where people get a lot of action, there's always some legal thing that comes out, because people want to protect their IP. Like, I get the other side too. They want to protect their businesses, protect their investors. The investors want to protect themselves, really, and the future of what that could be, and the promise, and all this stuff. Like, I get that too. But at the same time, there's always going to be other competition that comes in and says, like, well, we can do this too, but I think we can do it better and a little differently. And then the other gets threatened and is like, well, no, we think your stuff is too close to it. And then it gets in a legal battle. And sometimes the smaller group just doesn't have the legal ability to fight it. It gets too expensive. And that's the point. That's actually what the other wants to do. They inherently might know they're wrong or that they don't really have a case, but they have the money. So they just draw it out in a legal battle until that group just can't stand it anymore. And many groups have fallen to that. That happens in the normal civilian world with just other lawsuits and stuff. And it's like we've gotten used to that being okay. And you can come up with your own. There's plenty of private examples of big, powerful people that put a lawsuit on someone just to kind of drain it, drain the process. Look, you can look at politics, and I won't even get into that. There's plenty of that being a reality of how we feel we have to work in business. So what is just hilarious almost to me and like uplifting and kind of and bold and ballsy, and it's kind of energizing is what Chris is doing, is saying, screw it. You want to sue me? What do I got left? I'm not going to keep this tech that I've built and put all this time and effort in and going to close it in a door in a shop that no one will ever see because of you guys pressuring me like assholes to say I can't do it and making me basically lose all my money that I've put into this in legal stuff. That's a great answer. And after talking to him, it seems like what's going on. And there's a lot of other back end story to it that I'm not going to speak to, but I can speak to it in this way. It got close to home for me because, well, I've talked about some of the old shit I've dealt with and others as well. And I don't know if it's just a trend. It's not all the time. It's just, it happens every once in a while. These things like this pop up. And I talk to the people that are more kind of on the lower end that are getting sued by someone that has a lot more money and power. And I can relate to those people, and it's not always the same story. I mean, I can't say we ever got sued directly, but we did have to help other people fight that based on the history of our involvement with them. I will speak to this really shortly. Back in the day, there was a patent made about satellite imagery and making variable rate recommendations on it with nitrogen, like a calculator. Mosaic owned it. I can't remember if they're originators or not. I know some of the people that were. Mosaic ended owning it. At the time, we were actually the doing all the imagery and satellite imagery stuff and analytics on that side behind Farmer's Edge when we were first working with them. Mosaic they had this patent. It said, oh, you're infringing on it. They tried to go after us. We're like, actually, no, we have prior art. You actually worked with us before in another project before you actually got the patent. So, sorry. And that was in the United States. They were in Canada. That was different, different legal jurisdiction. They went after them. Because they were a client of ours, we used our data to help support them in their process, saying it's actually our stuff they're using. It's not them doing it. Went through all this stuff. It got settled out. I think Farmer's Edge won actually, or nothing. Just a bunch. The lawyers won. The lawyers won is really what happened. And that's what we thought it was. And then we cut ties with them. Didn't work with them anymore. And then if they got some money, they ended up buying the patent from Mosaic, and then they sent out threats to others within the industries, cease and desist letters to others that have been involved, like some newer ones for the most part. They didn't touch some of the older groups, and of course not us because they couldn't. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? Why does things like this happen? Why can't we just create some of the tech and not be afraid of others necessarily coming in and just do the job of selling the freaking product and win the actual battle? Like this fear mongering of, oh, someone's going to make it better, and oh God, it is, but we need to do this, else we're screwed. And this is like, I don't know, maybe create something better. Maybe make a better product. Instead of use shitty legal processes to just drain people. There's nothing moral about that. Like, I don't even know how people sleep at night doing shit like that. It's ridiculous. While I get why they do it, like inherently, I understand the fear of all this money, time in something, and then someone comes along and is like, hey, I got something better. I can do it for cheaper. I'm going to try to beat you. And get into these tactics, these legal tactics, these pressuring, these back end pressures. And from what it sounded like from Chris, like, it's not just legal. Even it's other back end things saying, oh, we're not going to support you. Like, we love your stuff. We want it. We have the money to actually help and actually build this up, but we're getting pressure from other powerful people to not do it. People that we can't ignore because we sell a lot of crap to them. And that can be, maybe a big farm, or that's, huge, not some family farm. I'm talking like corporate type of stuff. And, some big groups invested into that. Maybe it's some big CPG, maybe it's some other big investment group that's also invested into all these other groups, and all these, this big web of shit starts happening and says, oh, this group's going to fuck everything up. We can't let that happen. We're investing in these things, and we're just going to tell everybody, no, let's grind them down till they're nothing, buy their tech for cheap on the back end, then we'll put in our stuff and make it all better. Or because we want this one group to be successful because it's already, the hype marketing has worked, we're up here, and then we can now convince some larger player, some OEM, to buy it. Whether it works or not, it doesn't matter. We can use that because the big group buying it is publicly traded. It helps their stock position. It doesn't even need to work. It just needs to look like it could work or be developed into something bigger, into a larger worldwide product line. This has actually happened before. One of the biggest acquisitions in all of AgTech. It's exactly what happened. The product that was, I'm not going to name a name. The people know who it is. The product was shit. It was bought for hundreds of millions of dollars. It has been expressed as it's the leading thing to this, and this, even currently. It was a stock play. It was an influence play. It was needed to convince the normal everyday investors that progression was happening, to keep your investments and invest more, because we're doing all this now. We were this and now we're this. And I get that's how the world works. It's not just ag, it is every industry. It is how it works. I just think it's stupid because I don't know how I'd sleep at night. And that's the thing that I think separates almost the good from the bad in anything in AgTech. Can you sleep at night with what happened? And if you can't, then you know it's wrong. You know it's bad. If you can sleep at night, I guess it depends. Sometimes someone can sleep at night doing a bad thing because if they didn't, it would lead to even something worse. It could be just money, For instance, and this isn't calling out all farmers or anything, but this does happen. Sometimes farmers commit fraud with crop insurance. Sometimes this is minor. It's like a minor thing everyone does. So that's not what I'm talking about. There's accidental fraud, actually. Quite a bit of it. It's because of the rules and what's governed, and not enough people actually watching things. And that's a whole nother episode. But it's someone, lying about, they had a claim and damage and preventive plant or something that was, on the edge of whether it is or isn't. And people can get away with it. Now, sometimes that happens because people are just greedy and they suck. And yeah, those people can sleep at night. For others, the only reason they can sleep at night and they do those things is because they're screwed. If they don't do it, they'll lose the farm. It is their only option. And they know they can kind of get away with it. So they're like, God, I don't want to do this, but if I don't, heck, I might lose my family. I might lose the land. I might lose everything. So people also do it out of fear, fear mongering. We do it to ourselves. And I just think it just sucks. Not that everyone gets through the thought of it. At times when things get rough, you're like, God, I could do this and this. And you kind of fearmonger yourself into a decision based on that. And that's tough. I can tell you there's many times that my dad thought that, and even I thought that. And it's like, God, I'm going to have to do this and give it up to this because I'm afraid of this. And sometimes you dabble in it because there just isn't another option. You try to avoid it. And sometimes you can get out of it. You might dabble and you're like, no, something came up. It's like life sometimes gives you an out, but a good out. It gives you an opportunity. I'm hoping that happens for Chris and his laser Ellenizer, I think he calls it, that he's pushing. It's timed here. I'm going to try to get this out before too late here, before it actually there's a clock. And if XYZ can't happen, I can't remember exactly what, like either doesn't get funded or he doesn't get the lawsuit's not dropped or something like that, then all the tech goes out to the world, or it's going to turn into open source, something like that, at a certain time this afternoon on this day. So if you're watching this later, I guess you'll know what happened. And that's the last resort. And there's fear guiding that. It's like, well, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. And from his stories, from stories I've dealt with, just that fear mongering stuff, that back end things, that other group influencing it, and what that does to a person, and that feeling, like, I hope people don't have to feel that. It's terrible. It's terrible. It shapes you. It's why I'm the way I am, and talk about all this stuff the way I do is some of it's out of frustration. Some of it's just therapy to talk about it. And I think a lot of people, that's why they come up to me and listen, if anything, and like it helps me because it helps, like, I'm not alone. And that's kind of what our conversation was yesterday. It was kind of like, our stories are different, our backgrounds, what's happened, time frames, they're all different, but the essence of it is I'm not alone. And the thing about it is, in the ag world, there's actually a lot of people like that. It's hard for those people to find each other. I think naturally we gravitate slowly. I guess the shitty people gravitate towards each other too, because they are fine. They can sleep at night making shady deals. And they're like, well, you work with shady deals. I work with shady deals. Hey, let's make some shady deals together. And then you see what happens. And the world is, I mean, that is literally how the world works. And it is a burden on us all. And it's happening in the AgTech world. And it always has, but I think it's maybe a little more pronounced now in the moment, just because there's a lot of groups that are struggling. They don't have much left. Times are getting tough. They need to make some deals, some back deals, whatever it might be. There's a lot of this going around. So what's my point to all of this? I will say, for the people that are struggling on the AgTech side, wherever you're at, you are not alone. There are people like me, like Chris, like others that have gone through the hellscape, the ups and downs, and they're trying. Search for them. Be honest, be open. Tell people, this happened, that happened. Don't get controlled by the fear mongering from the people that put you down, to say don't give them control of saying what you can say and your story and how they did whatever they did. That gives them control. That gives them the power. That gives them the because no one's talking about it, that allows them to sleep at night while you don't. Why don't we turn the page? Like, from what Chris is trying to do, I think can be inspiring, is saying, like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not giving in to the BS. I'm not dealing with it anymore. And in my world, I feel there's something brewing in me, seeing, and it's not a takeout of all, but I've talked about it, and people that have talked to me directly in the last few months know this, of what I'm trying to kind of accomplish. There is a burgeoning effort to open up a lot of things in the AgTech world so that it can actually work and we all can collaborate on it. From open source to other things like that that are tied to that. There's a want. There's a growing want, because it's never really existed in ag. We've all kind of just kept to our own, have our own thing, and then kind of just push that out. That needs to change. It's going to change. It's going to happen, whether the big guns like it or not. And I can't read the future on what's going to happen, but I'm going to tell you, I ain't going to stop. Others aren't going to stop. It's going to happen. Now, it's going to be up to you to decide on what side of the aisle you want to lay. Do you want to do the thing that hasn't worked through money and, I don't know if you want to call it just the worst parts of capitalism? Maybe that's the nicest way to say it. There's good parts about it too. And that's the other side. There's a good part to it. It's just, how do we shift the foundational lines of what we're building and how we're actually helping the agriculture industry? Are we just going to sit back and let the big, I don't know, money and power control the essence of the foundation of what we're trying to build? Or can we build the foundation ourselves and collaborate within it, and then build on top of a very good foundation? I think that's the difference. Does everyone want to create their own foundation? Fine. That's what's been going on. That's fine. Or do we do it differently? The first steps are to fight back and to tell a story and to say, I don't like this. Things need to change. Now, in this thing I've talked about with the laser weeding and all that, I don't know if it'll go that way or not. But it's a step towards getting people to think that way. And it gets people talking, and it gets people interested, saying, maybe that is the way. Maybe not having this big controlling foundational piece is the way to actually make this stuff progress. From the digital side of data, so much of it, when all the money came in, was about controlling the data and creating other things off it. Big data, you name it. And now AI has come into it. It's like, we can do all this stuff with big data. I was like, well, old data's shit. It's shitty data, a lot of it. And you got to try to clean it and do things with it to actually get value. Well, what if there's a place where people actually want to put good data in because they actually trust it? Because it's not owned by anything or anyone. It's owned by you. And the tools created around it are for you. Maybe that's what the AI site can do. It actually creates it for you, not for a mass market that can be manipulated almost easier. It's actually harder to manipulate an individual. It's easier to manipulate a mass market of people. Like the saying goes, a person is smart, people are dumb. Because in group settings, we get into group think. We want to just follow each other, be in that group, like, we all believe in this. And what has that done for us? It doesn't seem like it's working. And then you talk to people on the street, your friends, your family, your colleagues, and you find out, oh shit, we do what people see of us as we're totally different people. We're black and white, but yet we agree on like 90% of everything. And the only way to do that is actually having an open conversation and openly collaborating on things that are for the greater good of people and the morality of how all this shit works. So, are we going to do that in AgTech or not? The time is now because of this reset and things shifting in this kind of downtrodden time. Now is the time to decide. Am I going to just rehash what we've done before and, the same crap's going to happen? Or are we going to rethink how we're doing this to actually help the industry, actually help farmers, actually help the food system, actually help the most basic things humans need, which is food, and how that's grown and how water is used with it. The two basic necessities. Are we going to change how we actually do it? Or are we just going to continue this stupid cycle? I guess that's up to everybody, but I think you know what side I'm on. If you want to join me in my fun battles and some of the others that are doing some crazy things, let me know. I'm happy to talk to you about it. What all that means yet is to be determined. I'm still figuring out in my own realm. Others that I've talked to are the same for them. It takes a little bit of time and effort, but there's different sparks out there. I'm trying to light some sparks. Someone like Chris Ladondo is trying to create some sparks. There are others trying to create sparks internally that are quiet because they have to be still. And there's others that are more vocal. Like I said, don't use fear. The fear mongering of AgTech needs to stop and where it is. Let's work together so we can sleep at night and collaborate in ways we need to. And let's stop this tomfoolery and not only get back to the basics, but the basics of how ag needs to work, which is really working together, helping your fellow neighbor, and getting the things done that is collectively going to help us all, because this other way is not working. And that's what I got to say about that. Would love to hear your comments. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later.